It's like a melting pot. You get a sprinkle of anxiety about being lonely, a sprinkle of like politic loathe and hate from people, and you add like a banning title like, is it shameful to be in a relationship now? When you write a title, is having a boyfriend embarrassing now? This is a generalization. It doesn't actually matter, and it doesn't mean that it has to be true. So I guess this author had a preference in self-build bitch and let's flex being alone, because most of this is actually going from a TikTok. Welcome to another episode of my podcast, That's Fine With Me. Today we're going to be talking about the article, this famous article from TikTok. And the name of this article from Vogue magazine is Having a Boyfriend Embarrassing Now? ? By Shantae Joseph, and she posted this article on 25th of October 2025. And it was really hard for me to structure this opinion in one very logical way, because the article wasn't all over the place, but it was just small bits, different, I guess, situations, different stories, and it was really hard for me to find one logical explanation to the whole article. And let me just get started. The end of this article is given in just like that. And I think this, again, this is my opinion, guys. Whatever I say in this podcast or any other podcast, it's definitely just my opinion. And I'm not saying this is the only way around. When I was reading, and let me read it for you guys. This is also happening alongside a wave of women reclaiming and romanticizing their single life. Where being single was once a cautionary tale, you'll end up a spinner with lots of cats. It is now becoming a desirable and converted status, another nail in the coffin of a centuries-old heterosexual fairy tale that never really benefited women to begin with. I would say this is definitely given in just like that, specifically the last episode of the third season. And I know that Vogue, they are talking a lot about and just like that in Sex and the City specifically. They're going back to Sex and the City series. They really love the story. They're journalists. They really love the story because it sells. They love and favor, and I guess, Sarah Jessica Parker. I actually really like Sarah Jessica Parker. I don't really have anything against her in real life specifically. That is the main reason why I do get the feeling that it was heavily influenced by and just like that. And what I mean by this is the final episode is showing Carrie sitting in her apartment and feeling at peace with her decision to become by herself or to be by herself. I don't really buy it, because if you're a huge fan of Sex and the City specifically, and again, and just like that series, you know that Carrie, she was always about men. She couldn't stay by herself. She couldn't stay alone for a long period of time. That is the main reason why I guess if we had a chance to see the fourth season, there definitely going to be more dating, because we didn't see Carrie growing as a character in the first season. In the second season, she was still into different relationship, and it was very much telling when she ended up with Aiden in the second season and early, I guess, third season. And I mean, you tried this twice, and then you're coming back to this relationship again and again and again. That is the main reason why, I guess, like, why? Is it because of a safe place for you to stay in? Or when she broke up with Aiden, she felt like, I mean, I could understand if she broke up with Aiden and that would be over, and then she would get into this conclusion that I'm going to be alone by myself. But then we got a neighbor that she's, again, dating, and she's a little bit, you know, not even scared, but she doesn't feel comfortable when he's leaving and he's not coming back. That is the main reason why I think this article is influenced by And Just Like That. A lot of people, they were praising the ending of And Just Like That Carrie was comfortable for being by herself, but I didn't see that. I didn't see this coming, because all this 3 seasons, she was still hopping from one relationship to another one, to another one, and to another one. Even when her husband died, she still spent some time grieving, which is respectful. But in 3 or 4 episodes, she was again in some new relationship that I didn't really get why she was actually in this relationship. They were stupid to become with. And when someone is telling you that I'm finally at peace, when they broke up with this neighbor, I guess, less than a month ago, it's just a total bullshit. You've never been alone. You are not going to be alone. And it's not going to change for you. If this is a path of your life, if this is the way you live, if this is the thing that you build up your career on, I'm pretty much sure that in the 4th season, we would have seen Carrie with other guy. And they just ended this, I guess, episode this way because, you know, fans, they really wanted to see this for a long period of time. And I guess that was the main reason why they got the inspiration for this article. But let's get back to the real article and going further from And Just Like That. It's just like my random thought. I would say the article is brilliant to the point where they actually got the title right and hit the jackpot. Is Having a Boyfriend Embarrassing Now? I would say this is a clickbait title or rage bait title. I guess Vogue, they kind of know what sells, and they know that TikTok is thriving right now because whatever you say, if it's something dumb and stupid or if it's something really good, and if it gets people to the nerves, and if it really gets people, it's going to become viral. And that's what you actually want to see for your magazine or your platform, your social media, to become viral. This is something that we see on and on. I would probably correct this title later. They forgot to mention, or they deliberately not forget to mention, that it's specifically about social media. I got the impression that this author was not talking about real life partners and real life relationship. It's more like the way she observed TikTok and social media in general, but I think it's basically like TikTok. And what she was saying, it was mainly coming from social media. That is the main reason why I don't really think this is a real conducted study or survey that they performed with Vogue magazine. It's specifically just some observation of an influencer that came across probably a couple of articles, a couple of influencers, as she's mentioned in her article, and then just like compiled a story that is interesting, and it's a really interesting point of view, and I agree on a lot of things. And why is it a real point of view? Because when you get the opening of this article, and specifically like second sentence if I'm mistaken, there's nothing I hate more than following someone for fun only for their content to become my boyfriend. Suddenly. You can tell that this whole article is going to be written from a point of view of an author, and I don't really think that she's going to give you a satisfaction to get more points from different sources and comparing them and then giving your conclusion. It's more like I'm picking a lot of this, I guess, bits of interesting ideas that I relate to. But I don't really think that she was probably studying different points of view from different people that are in a relationship and they're not in a relationship, who are posting their boyfriends and who are not posting their boyfriends. It's just, like, it's not given this. It's given more like, I want to give you my idea of what is happening right now on social media and why I think it's happening on social media without two sides of the story. That's what I get. Another really interesting thing that she mentions in her article is boyfriend land. This stereotype, if you have a boyfriend and you're sharing a lot of content with your boyfriend, then you're going to be leveraged on social media, but at the same time feel like you use this relationship to become viral or to become someone on social media. You're missing probably this independence, and you're missing the factor that I'm my own boss bitch and whatsoever. It's just like you want to feel independent and self-built at the same time. You just still want to get probably some clout. But let me tell you one thing, that when she was comparing a lot of different influencers that lost a lot of their subscribers when they shared some videos of their boyfriends, or it was more like subtle look of their boyfriends and husbands, she's like, that is the main reason why they are ashamed, because they're losing their followers, they're losing their people who are interested in them, and people are tired of this boyfriend relationship. I think she is specifically talking about influencers that are building the entire persona on boyfriends. I don't really think she's talking about people that are not frequently, but like sometimes they're showing their boyfriends on social media. I don't really get this feeling. I feel like she's like even sharing a bit by bit of your boyfriend. It's pretty embarrassing. And let me get you to the point where it was really, really funny. By the time her article was released, I guess around the time, a little bit earlier than that, but you just can't reverse this process, Carly Bible shared a video where she, on her birthday, came back with her really old boyfriend. Not old boyfriend, but just like the boyfriend she was dating 8 years ago. And it actually blew up internet for Instagram and TikTok. She didn't post this over YouTube, if I'm mistaken, or maybe she did, but it actually blew up internet. And a lot of people were really happy for Carly Bible. They were like, finally, top comments were like, finally, it's like your divorced parents, they're coming back together. Now we can leave. Now we can be at peace. And it doesn't actually give the impression of people being shameful, and specifically influencers being shameful of their boyfriends. A lot of people were praising Carly Bible for getting back with her old boyfriend. And specifically, it was really interesting to watch and observe when one really viral article was coming out and people were like, yeah, we hate boyfriends. We hate when you share this content. And from the other hand, you see Carly Bible sharing this content and like people like, yeah, now the world can heal. Because at the end of the day, I would say this article is talking about lonely people and people that are not only jealous, but they just want to have probably the same relationship as others. And when they see this over internet and over social media, they feel more lonely and that they can't find this type of love in their relationship. And it's not about their relationship at all. And they find it very, very hard to see happy people and feel jealous. This is my point of view. And why I think so is because another really very interesting point from the article, when she was talking about Vogue contributor, and her name is Stephanie Yoba. I guess her name is Yoba. So this Stephanie contributor was mentioned in like, even if we were still together, I wouldn't post them here. There is something cringy and embarrassing about constantly posting your partner these days. She tells me, adding in that there is a part of me that would also feel guilty for sharing my partner constantly, especially when we know the dating landscape is really shit at the moment. I wouldn't want to be boastful. That is the main idea what I got. I mean, with the rise of social media, we have become very talkative, and we discuss a lot of things, and people share their thoughts and opinion, and they're creating this community. But at the same time, it has made us more lonely than ever, because the community that we had as neighbor community and people that were nearby, they're kind of like faded away, because now we have everything in social media, where we have jobs in social media, we have this marketing opportunities again in social media, and that is the main reason why we're more divided now than we used to be like 20 years ago. Is it bad? No, I think it's just the phase of life where you kind of learn how to live with this and how to incorporate this in your life. And if you feel comfortable staying home and filming some content, that's great. If you don't feel, then a lot of people are coming back to corporate jobs and they're filming themselves again in TikTok, how they do this, because they need this communication and they need people around them, and they need to flirt, they need to come around certain, I guess, just like relationship. That is the main reason why I think this was really telling from the same article, that people, they don't really want to share this on social media, not because they feel like they're ashamed of it, but it's about, again, let me read it one more time. Especially when we know the dating landscape is really shit at the moment, I wouldn't want to be boastful. It's about flexing. It's about giving this impression that I'm not alone and you're alone and you're a pathetic bitch. It's just people, they're afraid to show this side of their relationship. They're afraid to show the side of like being criticized for being in romantic relationship. And I would say a lot of people, they're going to be really happy for you, and they're going to be just like very supportive, as in case of Carly Bible. But still, a huge part of society, they're actually lonely and they can't find a partner, or they're going through the process when they just broke up. And I would say I don't really think it's shameful. It's just the way that it wasn't even a mistake. I don't really think you ever can say that any relationship, even toxic relationship, is a mistake, because it's a process where you learn, and when you actually learn out of it and it's becoming your lesson. But if you're going through this pattern over and over and over again, from like one toxic relationship to another toxic relationship, it's telling more about the roots where it's coming from, but it's not giving you the answer. Is like, is it a mistake? It's more like you have to think, why are you drawn to this relationship, and probably work on that. Still, this is the identifier of why you have to take notice and then just like go and probably have some therapy. This is not even always a mistake. It's always a living experience that we have to embrace, and we have to learn from it. And again, if you think that it's shameful to share your relationship over social media, then don't. But I guess Carly Bible, she was really smart about her specific situation. When she was giving us hints, she was dropping some hints, and people were investigated. Believe it or not, people were not like unsubscribing because she was given some hints of her boyfriend and not showing his face. People were not only invested, they were literally stalking Brad's page, or her boyfriend's page, and they were trying to find the bracelets. They were finding like the height of this person. Is she going to the same restaurant? I was invested myself. That is the reason why I think it's a very, very bold statement to say that people are ashamed, because I have so many people, especially not only Carly Bible, but Michaela. She is not ashamed of her boyfriend, though her boyfriend has nothing to do with her career, and she built her name by herself without this. But she did actually exploit her wedding a little bit, when she was like, I have to find my perfect, lip color. I have to find my perfect venue. I have to find my perfect dress or whatever. And of course, she was benefiting from this a lot. That is the main reason why I can't say that people were unsubscribed, and they were totally invested in this wedding move. And this whole content was about a relationship. It was all about this particular content. Let's talk about Nora Smith. Nora Smith is a mother of like 4 kids, if I'm mistaken, or 3 kids, and she's only 24. I don't remember. You can correct me, by the way, guys. It's just the fact that she loves her life, and she shares a lot of things, like where she's with her husband, but she's still, flexing, as you would say, by herself. And she's an independent woman who built up her career, not with the help of her husband, just because She loves this domestic life, but at the same time, she's not afraid to show her boyfriend, her husband, or whatsoever. Next person is Jaclyn Hill. When she got popular, I would say that Jaclyn Hill, she made it by herself. She still doesn't own any of her success to her first husband, and then she doesn't own her second husband, but she frequently showed her first and second husbands in her videos, and a lot of people actually loved her husbands and love her husband. And I would say they don't feel cringy, they don't really unsubscribe. But what I can agree on for sure is when a lot of people, they try to build the entire persona on their relationship, and it becomes cringy. It's like, my husband this, my husband that. But some people, they actually make fun of it, such as Alex and John and Kat, for example, like from TikTok. They are sharing some videos with their partners, and specifically Alex and John, they build their career on this partnership. They have podcasts where they actually talk about relationship, and I really love this podcast, and I really love their point of view. That is the main reason why I think it's really interesting why the whole article is based on you're shameful or this and that. But I don't really think that's the case. I don't really think this is the case. I think the case is that people are lonely. They saw this opportunity with Vogue and this hyping moment within just like that final episode. I think that it's kind of like the way that people, they do actually feel jealous. It's just not to diminish anyone. It's more like, yeah, I would feel jealous myself if I would be lonely and I would see this happy couples all over the place, and it probably will piss me off. It's not because it's shameful. It's just the reason why are you happy and why I can't find my happiness. This is more like that. But I would say while I was reading this article, I couldn't find a lot of the sense from some certain, I guess, phrases that she mentioned in this article. And I think this is pretty obvious, again, my opinion, that Vogue is favoring, I guess, Democrats or Liberal Party itself. That is the main reason why I think this article came out a little bit more political than it should be. And the reason why I'm saying that is because while I was reading, the specific choice of comments that the author picked for the article was like, why does having a boyfriend feel Republican? By the way, I want to mention this real quick. I'm from Russia. I don't really have anything to do with United States or the political parties of United States. I don't really think like Republicans or Democrats, they're worth my attention because I don't really into politics at all. But what I can tell for sure that a lot of Americans, they are into politics, and it's really, really important, and that's a big part of their life. In Russia, it's more like, if you want to vote for this party, okay, it's just like we can have a conversation, but people will actually go through divorce or they're going to go through different fights. In the United States, if someone is politically incorrect or politically just non-supportive, and they're going to have like real fights, I would just not talk about that at all. That is the main reason why while I was reading this article, I was like, why does having a boyfriend feel Republican? And it was implemented in this article, and was like, okay, it's just like one comment, and probably it has nothing to do with the politics itself. And then the second comment I was getting is like, as indicated by my liberal use of the button, and it was just getting a little bit weirder when I was like, okay, so another comment about liberals, Republicans. And then I was reading more. As straight women, we're confronting something that every other sexuality has had to contend with: politicization of our identity. So then again, there is another point about politics, and that you have to be ashamed to be in a relationship or have a boyfriend because it seems like you're Republican. And I would say that was the weirdest part from this entire article. I mean, like, the article is well written, I would say, and the points were really clear. But what was the weirdest part about it at all is that why did you have to mix in politics in this whole idea? So, of course, I would say that's going to be another rage bait or clickbait, because they're going to be definitely Republicans reading this article and feeling like, what is so wrong to be a Republican? Or they're going to be a liberal person reading this article is like, yeah, I don't really want to be in a relationship because I identify myself as a liberal person, not as a Republican. It's just like, it's adding more fuel to the story. And I would say that was a smart move as well, because, how can you trigger people from the United States? You can talk about politics. And if you try to bring up the most important thing about their identity right now, lots of people, they're actually thinking that politics is about identity. It's just to mix this into a relationship topic. When people feel lonely, when people are not feeling satisfied, or people feel satisfied and they don't understand what is the problem, to demonize relationship. So you kind of like mix it, and it's like a melting pot. You get a sprinkle of anxiety about being lonely, a sprinkle of politic loathe and hate from people, and you add a banning title like, is it shameful to be in a relationship now? And you have a banner, you have a hit on your hand. Because let's be real. Again, I was reading when I was reading this article, when I did a call out on Instagram to my 65,000 followers, plenty of women told me that they were in fact superstitious. And I don't really want to read the entire sentence because I'm just going to actually read the entire article to you guys. But then I see like others were concerned about their relationship ending and then being stuck with the posts. What was interesting about this particular, I guess, sentence, she said that she had a call out on Instagram to her 65,000 followers. So she specifically mentions that 65,000 people, it's pretty much a lot. So when you think this, when you're reading it, like, oh, 65,000, and the first thing that you were like, if you're not considering this from different points of view, you're like, oh, then probably, I'm talking about psychology here. Probably all the 65,000 people, they participated in this survey. They participated in this kind of like poll, or, just they took part in this article somehow. But then the author is actually blurring how much people participated. She says, plenty of women told me they were in fact superstitious of women. This is another point of view. I mean, pretty much sure that out of 65,000 people, they're probably men, but she likes to say that plenty of women told her that. So we actually think that probably some of these people were not participating. Then she says, others were concerned about their relationship ending and then being stuck with the posts. So what I'm saying here is it's pretty obvious. Every single person who has social media, for example, like, again, Carly Bible, I don't know, Jacqueline Hill, who naked tutorials, and many, many, many more, such as like James Charles whatsoever. They have, for example, like 20 million subscribers, or 6 million subscribers, 13 million subscribers, and we're going to add to that. But when you actually see how much views they get per video, I'm not talking about viral videos, I'm not talking about the most popular videos, I'm talking about like average video. Carly Bible with the 6 million subscribers, she would probably get more or less like 200,000 views per video, and maybe Jacqueline Hill is going to get like 350,000 or like 400,000 views out of 6 million people, and you kind of get the math. So when the author of this article is saying my 65,000 followers, it's actually creating this impression of like, yeah, 65,000 is pretty much a lot. But then she's specifically, from my point of view, she's specifically reducing, like saying plenty. How many plenty? Because for some people, plenty, like I have 1,291 subscriber today, like right now on my YouTube channel, and for me, like 500 people, it's plenty of people, or like 1,000 actually people is plenty for me. But for some people, 1 million is plenty, and for others it's like 50 people is plenty. We don't really understand what is, from her point of view, plenty is, as well as others, how many others. That is the main reason why, like, when you create a generalization, and this is a generalization, when you write a title, is having a boyfriend embarrassing now, this is a generalization. So when you kind of like get into the 65,000 followers number, this is specifically going in your mind. It's like, yeah, it's kind of plenty. It's plenty of people. But you know that not all of them participated in the survey. And probably there were like 200 people actually getting through this poll, or maybe 1,000 people, they went through this poll. And then you're like, maybe it's not that much, because out of millions of people, millions of couples, millions of influencers, this is a drop in the ocean. And to build the entire, I guess, article on, basing on like 65,000 people mark, and then not even specifying how many actually participated in this poll, or I guess quiz, that is a little bit odd, but it's very, very smart. I am going to give it to the author, or maybe the editor of this article. It's super smart to get rage bait content. Then you give a little bit of politics there, because you know that it's going to trigger a lot of people, especially Republicans or liberals. And it's just like they're going to take your side because they feel like this is a part of their identity. And then you're going to see other people, they're single people. And then you get a mark of 65,000 people, and you're like, wow, that's a lot of people, but I don't really get how many participated. And that's a banner. Again, I'm going to say it one more time. That's a banner on your hands. It doesn't actually matter, and it doesn't mean that it has to be true. It doesn't matter if the author thinks the majority of people think this way. It's just the way how you compile all this data. It's the way how you compile all the, I guess, facts and psychology, and smart people, they know how to use these facts. And then you just like write an article, and people, they're going to debate. They're going to talk. They're going to just, just like favor this. Because while I was talking, and I mentioned this right in the beginning of my podcast, it's going to be relevant later, why I think her, I guess, research primarily was from TikTok. Because when she was talking about delusional diaries, and this was an article that she specifically, not an article, that was a podcast that she specifically mentioned, like the Delusional Diaries podcast, fronted by two New York-based influencers, Haley and Jazz. So what I'm going to tell you guys is that when I was doing a little bit of digging, and she was like, the top comment that got 12,000 likes, I think it came from TikTok. Because when I was, searching the name of this podcast, it's interesting. She doesn't actually specify the name of podcast where they were talking about relationship. And the closest one, I guess, was Single versus Taken. This was the closest I could get from the same relevant topic of this article. And the Delusional Diaries podcast have 58,000 subscribers on TikTok. And I wonder if they got majority of the subscribers from this article because they were mentioned in this article. Then Apple Podcast, they have, I don't really know, it's like 1,200 Ks. What? It's just like people that listen to this podcast, or a month. I don't know. And I would say that on YouTube, they have 11,900 subscribers. That is the reason why I'd say like the Delusional Diaries podcast is not extremely popular podcast. I've never heard of this before. But when I was checking their YouTube top comments, they were getting like 17 comments per podcast. Maybe 12 comments, 17 comments, and maybe even more to that. Then I was checking Apple, and again, they didn't get too many reviews. Oh, I guess this was the number of reviews. They have 1,200K reviews that were based on 4.1 rating. So yeah, basically, I can't say this is the most popular podcast, like the most popular, but that gives me an impression that she was basing her whole article on TikTok views and TikTok podcast, or at least some parts of this TikTok views. Because again, we don't really get in this article the name of their podcast where they were talking about this type of problem of relationship and being shamed for or whatever. So I guess this is Single versus Taken. I believe it's Single versus Taken. Because when I try to type in on TikTok about this, Delusional Diaries podcast, the first video was the most viral, where the host of this podcast was talking specifically about what the author of this article, Shantae, was talking as well. That is the main reason why she didn't reference this podcast name, just because she just saw a small clip on TikTok that got viral. And I guess that is the main reason why she didn't actually specify the real name. That is the main reason why I think, is it actually correct to think that this article was well researched from other sources than TikTok? I don't really think so. I think that it was based on TikTok views, TikTok viral content. And again, believe it or not, it depending on what are your preferences. So I guess this author had a preference in self-build bitch and like it's flex being alone, because most of this is actually going from TikTok, and TikTok algorithm is giving you what you actually is interested in. It's like the same thing as Selena Gomez and Hailey Bieber, because like every single time they say you have to train your algorithm to get the video about someone ASAP as possible. And I think this is the same case here. Something that you train your algorithm on, you think that everyone is going to be ashamed of their boyfriends. I think it's actually weird if your entire persona is built on that. But at the same time, I see a lot of other influencers, they're thriving on this boyfriend content. And it's weird that Vogue posted an article that had only one point of view without comparing to the other point of view. But again, it's about viral views. It's not only about the realness and the real research of an article today. It's just a point of view, I think. And I told you this right at the beginning of the video, that this article is going to be from a point of view of an author, not a comparison of different points of view, I would say when we had the sentence, there's nothing I hate more than following someone for fun only for their content to become my boyfriendified suddenly. And I guess this is the end of my podcast. But like, if you really want to know my 2 cents, I guess you know me. I do have a husband, and I don't share my husband a lot. Specifically, my husband doesn't like to be public. It's not my story to tell his story from my page. But I do have a couple of photos with my husband, and he feels okay if it's not too much, because he feels like I don't want to be featured in your social media profile. That is the main reason. I totally agree with the author that sometimes it's cringy when it's too much of a boyfriend. But at the same time, I mean, like, if this person still have followers, subscribers, and people are living for this. It's like with Carly Bible case, when people were happy for her and Brett, and I was super happy for them as well. And she got viral actually for sharing that she's back with her old boyfriend. I mean, you can tell that not every single person is shameful to be in relationship, and most definitely they're not shameful to share this on social media. They were teasing us with small details through this couple of years. I love you all so much, guys, and let me know in the comments what you think about this article. Probably you disagree with me, which I totally get it. I mean, like, you can disagree, you can agree on certain points, but I love you all so much. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.